Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, watching the alien delegates laugh at Ambassador Lee Dong-woo's proposal. The sound echoed off the crystal walls like broken glass. For 150 years, humanity had been part of this council, and for 150 years, they had been treated like children asking to sit at the adult table. The Vorthons were the worst offenders today. Their leader, a tall creature with purple skin and 4 arms, waved dismissively at the holographic display showing Earth's dark matter research. "Primitive understanding," the Vorthan said through his translator device. "Humans still think in linear patterns. They cannot grasp the complexities of dimensional physics." Dr. Park Mi-young, Earth's science representative, kept her face calm despite the insult. She had spent 20 years developing the theories these aliens were mocking. Her research had already solved 3 major energy crises on human colonies. But the council members acted like she was a child showing them finger paintings. "The humans want to explore the dark matter anomalies near the galactic rim," continued another delegate. "This one from the Zilani species. They do not understand the dangers. Their ships are too slow, their shields too weak. They will die out there and blame us for not stopping them." Captain Yoon Ji-hai clenched her fists. She commanded Earth's deep space exploration fleet, and her ships had already mapped regions the Council claimed were impossible to reach. But she said nothing. The human delegation had learned long ago that defending themselves only made the mockery worse. Ambassador Lee Dong-woo tried again. "Honored delegates, humanity requests permission to establish research stations in the outer spiral arms. We believe our biological diversity programs could benefit all council members. Earth's genetic research has produced remarkable results in crop yield and disease resistance." "Biological diversity," laughed the Catherian representative, "a serpentine creature with scales that changed color when it spoke. Humans breed like insects and call it diversity. They have no understanding of true genetic manipulation. Look at them. They still age and die in mere decades. Primitive biology for a primitive species." The chamber filled with more laughter. Even the youngest species in the council, barely 200 years into space travel, joined in mocking humanity. It was a familiar pattern. Whenever humans proposed anything, the council found reasons to reject it. When humans achieved something impressive, the council claimed it was luck or that humans had stolen the technology. Admiral Kim Tae-ho remembered his first day in this chamber 50 years ago. He had been full of hope then, believing that humanity could earn respect through hard work and cooperation. He had watched human scientists share their discoveries freely, only to see other species take credit. He had seen human engineers solve critical infrastructure problems across the galaxy, only to be told their solutions were temporary fixes. The worst part was the trade restrictions. 3 months ago, the Vorthons had imposed an embargo on rare earth minerals, claiming that humans were becoming too aggressive in their expansion. The truth was that human colonies were becoming too successful. While other species struggled to terraform new worlds, humans had developed techniques that could make a dead planet livable in just a few years. This success threatened the established order. The motion to allow human expansion beyond the Sol system's outer planets is denied, announced the council chairman, an ancient being from the first species to achieve faster-than-light travel. Humanity must remain within its designated territory until it demonstrates proper maturity. Dr. Park Mi-young stood up. "With respect, Chairman, humanity has been exploring space for over 4 centuries. We have established successful colonies on 47 worlds. Our crime rates are the lowest in the galaxy. Our environmental restoration programs are the most effective, and our research has benefited every species in this chamber. What more must we do to prove our maturity?" "Learn your place," hissed the Catherian. "Accept that some species are meant to lead while others follow. Humans are useful workers, nothing more." The chamber erupted in approving sounds from dozens of different species. Admiral Kim Tae-ho looked around at the faces, some humanoid, some completely alien, but all wearing the same expression of smug superiority. These beings had convinced themselves that their older civilizations made them inherently better than humanity. Captain Yoon-ji Haye leaned over to whisper in his ear. "Admiral, the fleet is ready." Kim Tae-ho nodded slightly. For 5 years, humanity had been preparing for this moment. While the Council dismissed human technology as primitive, human engineers had been developing new faster-than-light drives in secret. While aliens mocked human expansion efforts, human colonists had been establishing hidden settlements in unexplored regions. While the Council debated whether humans deserved basic rights, humanity had been planning its future without them. Ambassador Lee Dong-woo made one final attempt. "Honored delegates, I propose a simple test. Give humanity 1 year to prove our worth. Allow us to establish 3 research stations in the Outer Rim. If we fail, we will accept whatever restrictions you impose. If we succeed, grant us the same expansion rights given to other species." "Absolutely not," declared the Vorthan leader. "Humans cannot be trusted with advanced technology or dangerous regions. You will remain in your current territory and be grateful for the protection this council provides." "Protection?" Dr. Park Mi-young laughed bitterly. "You mean the protection that allows other species to raid our trade routes while you look the other way? The protection that denies us access to medical supplies during plague outbreaks? The protection that forces us to pay triple tariffs on goods that other species import freely?" "Ungrateful humans," muttered the Zalani delegate. "We should have left you on your primitive world." That was the moment Admiral Kim Tae-ho knew the charade was over. He stood slowly, his military uniform crisp and clean in a chamber full of beings who considered him inferior. The talking stopped as all eyes turned to him. In 50 years of attending these sessions, he had never spoken directly to the full council. "You are right," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "You should have left us alone." The chairman's translator crackled with confusion. "Admiral, you do not have permission to address this assembly." "I do not need your permission anymore," Kim Tae-ho replied. "I am here to inform you that the United Earth Federation formally withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately." The silence that followed was absolute. For a moment, even the chamber's atmospheric processors seemed to quiet down. "You cannot withdraw," the Vorthon leader said, all 4 arms gesturing frantically. "Your species signed binding agreements. You are bound by council law." "Council law applies only to council members," Ambassador Lee Dong-woo said, standing beside the admiral. "As of this moment, humanity is no longer a member." Dr. Park Mi-young gathered her research materials. "You want to know what humans learned in 150 years of membership? We learned that we do not need you." "We never did." Captain Yoon-ji Hae smiled for the first time in months. "Admiral, should I give the signal?" Kim Tae-ho looked around the chamber one last time, seeing the shock and confusion on faces that had moments before been filled with mockery. "Give the signal, Captain. It is time to go home." The human delegation walked out of the chamber with dignity, leaving behind a council that suddenly realized they might have made a terrible mistake. In the silence that followed, the chairman called for an emergency session, but the damage was already done. Humanity had chosen its path, and for the first time in over a century, it led away from this chamber of fools. Director Choi Soo-bin stood in the command center of Luna Station, watching the largest fleet assembly in human history. 3,000 ships hung in space around Earth's moon, their hulls gleaming with technologies the Galactic Council had never seen. For 5 years, humanity had been building these vessels in secret, hidden in asteroid mining facilities and deep space construction yards that appeared on no official records. "Status report," she said to engineer Han Woo-jin, who was monitoring the new, faster-than-light drives from his station. "All ships are ready for immediate departure. Han replied, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. The new quantum tunnel drives are operating at optimal efficiency. We can reach the Kepler colonies in 6 hours instead of 6 days. Captain Nam So-Ra's voice crackled through the communication system from her flagship. Colony ships Alpha through Gamma are loaded and ready. Each ship carries 10,000 colonists and enough supplies to establish self-sufficient settlements within 3 months. Dr. Kang Hyun-soo looked up from his terraforming calculations. The target worlds have been selected. My teams can begin atmospheric modification immediately upon arrival. What took the Council species decades to accomplish, we can do in 2 years. Choi Soo-bin nodded with satisfaction. While the Council had been dismissing human capabilities, humanity had been revolutionizing space travel and colonization. The secret research programs had produced breakthrough after breakthrough, all hidden from the aliens who thought humans were too primitive to pose any threat. Begin Phase 1, she ordered. Across the solar system, hidden human installations came alive. Manufacturing plants on Mars doubled their production output. Mining operations in the asteroid belt began extracting materials at rates that would have seemed impossible just months before. Colony ships that had been disguised as cargo haulers revealed their true nature as massive arc vessels capable of carrying entire cities to distant stars. The first wave of ships engaged their new drives, disappearing in flashes of blue light that bent space around them. Traditional faster-than-light travel required ships to build up speed gradually, but human quantum tunnel drives could open doorways through space itself, allowing instant travel across vast distances. Engineer Han Woo-jin had spent 15 years developing this technology in complete secrecy. While alien scientists had dismissed human physics as primitive, Han had been exploring theories that went far beyond anything the Council had achieved. His drives did not just move ships faster than light, they moved them outside normal space, entirely, traveling through quantum dimensions where distance had no meaning. Captain Nam So-Ra's fleet reached the first target system while the Council was still debating humanity's withdrawal. The ships emerged near a cluster of 7 habitable worlds that human scouts had discovered 3 years earlier. These worlds existed in a region the Council had declared too dangerous to explore, beyond the galactic rim where space pirates and cosmic anomalies made travel impossible. Landing sites confirmed, Nam reported to Earth. All 7 worlds show optimal conditions for immediate colonization. No signs of hostile life forms or dangerous radiation. Dr. Kang's preliminary scans indicate we can begin terraforming operations within 48 hours. Dr. Kang Hyun-soo's teams worked with efficiency that amazed even him. His new terraforming technology used engineered bacteria and atmospheric processors that could transform dead worlds into garden paradises in a fraction of the time required by traditional methods, while Council species took centuries to make. Planets livable, human colonists could establish thriving settlements in just a few years. Within 1 month, humanity had established colonies on 27 new worlds. Each settlement was completely self-sufficient, with advanced manufacturing capabilities and defensive systems that could repel any attack. The colonies were connected by a communication network that allowed instant coordination across hundreds of light years. Director Choi Soo-bin watched the reports flow in from across human space. Status update from all colonies? All settlements are operational and expanding ahead of schedule, reported her aide. Colony productivity exceeds projections by 40%. Population growth is stable, and no colonies have reported any significant problems. The speed of human expansion was staggering. While the Council species had required massive support networks to establish even small outposts, human colonies became productive members of Earth's civilization almost immediately. Each new world added to humanity's industrial capacity, creating a feedback loop of rapid growth and development. Engineer Han Woo-jin was already working on improvements to the quantum tunnel drives. Director, the new Mark III drives will be ready for testing next month. They should reduce travel time by another 60% and allow us to carry larger payloads. How large? Choi asked. Large enough to move entire cities in a single jump, Han replied with a grin. Captain Nam So-ra's second wave fleet was already preparing for departure. This wave would establish colonies in the galactic core region, an area the Council had claimed was impossible to reach due to dangerous radiation and gravitational anomalies. Human scientists had developed shielding technology that could protect ships and colonies from these hazards, opening up millions of star systems for exploration. Meanwhile, reports began reaching Earth about the Council's reaction to humanity's disappearance. Alien trade networks were collapsing as human merchant fleets vanished overnight. Agricultural worlds that had depended on Earth's farming expertise were facing food shortages. Medical centers across the galaxy were struggling without access to human pharmaceutical research. Dr. Kang received a priority message from one of his research teams. Sir, we have completed analysis of the Vorthon trade embargo records. It appears they were importing 60% of their rare earth minerals from human mining operations. Our withdrawal has cut off their primary supply source. What about their medical supplies? Choi asked. Earth was providing anti-radiation medications to 47 Council worlds, Dr. Kang replied. Without our pharmaceutical exports, several species will face serious health crises within months. The irony was not lost on any of them. For decades, the Council had treated humanity as a junior partner, useful only for manual labor and basic resource extraction. They had never realized how deeply integrated human expertise had become in galactic civilization. Earth's scientists had quietly solved countless problems for alien species, always receiving minimal credit but ensuring the work got done. Captain Nam So-ra's reports from the new colonies revealed another surprise. Director, we have made contact with 3 non-Council species in the Outer Rim regions. They have been hiding from Council expansion for centuries. They are very interested in establishing trade relationships with humanity. These species had been dismissed by the Council as primitive or irrelevant, but human diplomats quickly discovered they possessed valuable knowledge and resources. More importantly, they shared humanity's frustration with the Council's arrogant attitude toward younger civilizations. Engineer Han Woo-jin's latest innovation was already showing results. His quantum communication networks allowed instantaneous contact between Earth and the most distant human colonies. While Council species still relied on message drones that took weeks to cross galactic distances, humans could coordinate their entire civilization in real time. Director, Han reported, we have established quantum communication links with all 47 colonies. Total network lag time is under 1 second. The communication breakthrough meant that human space was not just a collection of isolated settlements, but a unified civilization that could respond to threats or opportunities with unprecedented speed. When Captain Nam discovered a new cluster of habitable worlds, colonization fleets could be dispatched within hours instead of months. Dr. Kang's terraforming teams were exceeding all expectations. We have successfully modified the atmospheres of 15 worlds, he reported. Oxygen levels are approaching Earth normal, and we can begin introducing Earth plant species next month. At current rates, these worlds will be fully habitable within 18 months. Director Choi Soo-bin looked at the galaxy map showing human expansion. Red dots marked Council territories, while blue dots showed human colonies. In just 2 months, the blue dots had spread across regions the Council had never explored. Humanity was not just leaving the Council. They were leaving the Council behind. Prepare Phase 2, she ordered. It is time to show the galaxy what humans can really accomplish. The Exodus was no longer just an escape from Council oppression. It had become a demonstration of human potential that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. While alien species argued about humanity's departure, humans were building a new civilization that would dwarf anything the Council had ever achieved. Admiral Shin Jae-won watched the emergency broadcasts from across the galaxy with cold satisfaction. The Galactic Council chamber that had once echoed with laughter at human expense now buzzed with panic and desperate arguments. 3 months. After humanity's withdrawal, the true scope of their dependence on Earth was becoming impossible to ignore. Economist Dr. Lim A. Rhee sat at her monitoring station, tracking economic data from Council worlds. "Admiral, the Vorthan industrial sector has collapsed completely. Their rare earth mineral shortage has shut down 60% of their manufacturing plants. Food riots are beginning on their agricultural worlds." "What about the Zalani?" Shin asked. "Worse," Dr. Lim replied. "They imported 90% of their grain from human agricultural colonies. Their population is facing starvation within 6 months unless they find alternative food sources." The irony was devastating. For decades, Council species had mocked human agricultural techniques as primitive and inefficient. They had claimed their own hydroponic systems and synthetic food production were far superior to Earth's biological farming methods. Now those same species were discovering that their advanced food production could not feed their populations without massive imports of human-grown crops. Diplomat Song Min-ho entered the command center with new intelligence. "Admiral, I have been in secret contact with 17 non-council species. They are all requesting to join humanity's confederation. The Council's authority is crumbling as member species see what happens when they displease their supposed superiors. Captain Oh Seung-hwa's humanitarian fleets were already responding to distress calls from across the galaxy. Her ships carried food, medical supplies, and technical experts to worlds suffering from the sudden loss of human support systems. The missions served a dual purpose, providing aid to desperate populations while demonstrating humanity's superior capabilities. "Status report from the relief missions," Admiral Shin requested. "We have delivered emergency food supplies to 12 worlds," Captain O reported. "The local populations are amazed by our response time and the quality of our aid packages. Many are asking why their own governments cannot provide similar assistance." The answer was becoming clear to everyone except the Council leadership. Human efficiency and innovation had quietly become the backbone of galactic civilization. While alien governments focused on politics and prestige, human engineers had been solving practical problems and building reliable systems. Dr. Lim pulled up holographic displays showing trade route data. "Admiral, look at this. When human merchant fleets withdrew, cargo traffic decreased by 70% on major trade routes. The remaining alien shipping cannot handle the volume, and their ships are too slow to maintain regular schedules." Engineer, systems across the galaxy were failing as well. Human technicians had been maintaining critical infrastructure on hundreds of worlds, always working behind the scenes while alien supervisors took credit for their expertise. Without human maintenance, power grids were failing, water treatment plants were breaking down, and transportation networks were becoming unreliable. "The most serious crisis is on the Council homeworld," Song Min-ho reported. "Their capital city's life support systems were designed and maintained by human engineers. The Council chamber itself is experiencing atmospheric problems because they expelled the human technical staff." Admiral Shin felt a grim satisfaction at this news. The very chamber where aliens had mocked humanity as primitive was now struggling with basic life support. The Council's arrogance had blinded them to their own dependence on the people they considered inferior. Captain O returned from another relief mission with disturbing reports. "Admiral, the situation on Catherian worlds is critical. Their medical system has completely collapsed without access to human pharmaceutical research. A plague that human medicines could easily treat is spreading unchecked." The Catherians had been among the most vocal critics of human medical science, claiming their own treatments were far more sophisticated than Earth's biological approaches. Now their population was dying from diseases that human doctors could cure with simple medications. Dr. Lim's economic projections painted a bleak picture for the Council. At current rates of decline, the major Council economies will collapse within 1 year. Their industrial production is down 80%. Agricultural output has fallen by 60%, and trade revenues have dropped to pre-spaceflight levels. More disturbing for the Council was the political situation. Younger species that had always been treated as junior partners were beginning to question why they needed Council membership at all. Several had already opened secret negotiations, with humanity's growing confederation. Song Min-ho brought updates from his diplomatic contacts. Admiral, the Altarian Republic has formally requested to join our confederation. They bring with them advanced crystal technology that could improve our communication networks. 3 other species are preparing similar requests. The Altarians had been dismissed by the Council as technologically backward because their society focused on crystal-based rather than metal-based technology. Human scientists quickly recognized the potential of Altarian crystal matrices for quantum computing and communications, forming the basis for a mutually beneficial alliance. What is the Council's response to these defections? Admiral Shin asked. Panic, Song replied. They are threatening military action against any species that joins humanity, but their own military capabilities have been compromised by the loss of human technical support. Captain O's intelligence teams had discovered the extent of this compromise. Admiral, Council warships are experiencing massive maintenance problems. Human technicians had been responsible for maintaining 40% of their military technology. Their fleet readiness has dropped to less than 30%. The revelation that Council military forces depended on human expertise was perhaps the most shocking discovery of all. For generations, alien species had boasted about their superior weapons technology while quietly relying on human engineers to keep their systems operational. Dr. Lim identified another critical weakness. Admiral, the Council's faster-than-light communication network is failing. Human quantum relay stations provided 70% of their long-range communication capacity. They can no longer coordinate effectively across their territory. Without reliable communications, the sprawling Council territory was fragmenting into isolated regions. Local governors who had once received daily instructions from the central government now had to make decisions independently, often leading to conflicts and contradictions in policy. Admiral Shin reviewed the strategic situation with satisfaction. How many worlds have requested emergency assistance from our humanitarian fleets? Over 200, Captain O replied. We cannot respond to all of them simultaneously, but our selective aid programs are having maximum political impact. Every world we help becomes a potential ally. The human approach to crisis relief was demonstrating everything the Council had failed to understand about effective governance. Instead of demanding tribute and obedience, human fleets arrived with aid and asked for nothing in return except the chance to establish peaceful relationships. Song Min-ho's diplomatic network was expanding rapidly. Admiral, I now have contacts with 43 species across the galaxy. Most are expressing interest in joining our confederation, while others want to establish trade relationships independent of Council oversight. Dr. Lim's analysis showed that humanity's withdrawal had triggered the largest economic collapse in galactic history. Admiral, if current trends continue, the Council will lose effective control over 70% of their territory within 6 months. The most telling indicator was food distribution. Human agricultural colonies had fed nearly half the galaxy's population, using efficient farming techniques that alien scientists had dismissed as primitive. Without Earth's food exports, billions of beings faced malnutrition or starvation. Captain O reported success in her latest mission. Admiral, we have established a permanent relief station in the Rigel sector. Local populations are calling it a miracle that we can deliver aid faster than their own governments can respond to requests. Admiral Shin studied the galaxy map showing the collapse of Council authority. Red zones marked regions where government control had broken down, while green zones showed areas where human relief efforts were maintaining stability. The pattern was clear. Humanity was becoming the new power that other species turned to in times of crisis. Prepare for Phase 3, he ordered. It is time to offer the galaxy an alternative to Council rule. The ripple effect of humanity's departure was accelerating beyond anyone's expectations. What had begun as a withdrawal from an oppressive political system was becoming a revolution that would reshape galactic civilization. The species that had mocked humanity as primitive were now learning the hard way that competence mattered more than arrogance. Admiral Bei Young-sik stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the massive Council war fleet approach the Sol system. 200 of the galaxy's most advanced warships had assembled for what their commanders called a punitive expedition against rebellious humanity. They had no idea they were flying into a trap that had been prepared for decades. Dr. Ryu Haijin monitored the incoming fleet from her stealth research station hidden in the asteroid belt. "Admiral, their ships are using standard Council scanning technology. They cannot detect our defensive platforms or our cloaked vessels. To them, the Sol system appears completely abandoned." The Council fleet had expected to find human ships defending Earth, but they found only empty space and the cold silence of a solar system that seemed devoid of intelligent life. What they could not see were the hundreds of human ships hiding behind revolutionary stealth technology that rendered them invisible to alien sensors. Captain Ko Jin-ah's scout ships had been tracking the Council fleet for weeks as it assembled and began its journey to Earth. Her vessels used cloaking systems so advanced that they could remain undetected even at close range, allowing her teams to gather complete intelligence on Council military capabilities. Enemy fleet composition. "Confirmed," Captain Ko reported. 40 Vorthon dreadnoughts, 60 Zilani battle cruisers, 50 Catherian destroyers, and 50 mixed vessels from minor Council species. Total crew complement approximately 2 million beings. Commander Park Sang-min's intelligence networks had been infiltrating Council communications for months. "Admiral, intercepted transmissions indicate the fleet commander plans to bombard Earth's major cities as an example to other species, considering rebellion against Council authority." The plan revealed the true nature of Council civilization. When faced with political opposition, their first instinct was mass destruction rather than negotiation. The aliens who had claimed moral superiority over humanity were preparing to commit genocide against an entire planet. Admiral Bei studied the tactical display showing Council ship positions. "All vessels, maintain stealth protocols. Let them reach Earth orbit before we reveal ourselves." Dr. Ru's teams had spent 5 years developing stealth technology based on quantum field manipulation. While Council sensors looked for traditional signatures like heat and electromagnetic radiation, human ships existed in a state of quantum superposition that made them effectively invisible to conventional detection methods. The Council fleet reached Earth orbit and began preparing for bombardment. Their commanders were confident that humanity had fled in panic, leaving their homeworld defenseless. The fleet commander, a Vorthon admiral named Zekthor, opened communications to broadcast his ultimatum to the empty system. "Humans of Earth." His transmission began. "You have violated sacred Council law by withdrawing from your rightful place in galactic civilization. Surrender immediately and accept punishment, or face the complete destruction of your primitive world." The response came not from Earth's surface, but from space itself, as Admiral Bei's Ghost Fleet materialized around the Council formation. 1 moment, the Council ships were alone in orbit. The next, they were surrounded by human vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. "This is Admiral Bei Young-sik of the Earth Defense Force." His transmission cut through Council frequencies. "You have entered human space without permission and threatened our homeworld. You have exactly 5 minutes to withdraw or face the consequences." The Council fleet erupted in confusion as their sensors suddenly detected 300 human warships in impossible positions. The human vessels had appeared inside their defensive formation, close enough to deliver devastating attacks before the Council ships could respond. Captain Kojina's scouts were already conducting reconnaissance deep inside Council territory. Her ships moved through alien space like ghosts, gathering intelligence on military installations and supply lines. The Council had no idea that human forces were operating freely throughout their empire. Dr. Ryu's stealth technology was proving even more effective than hoped. Admiral, our cloaked vessels are penetrating Council defensive networks without detection. We now have real-time intelligence on their military capabilities across 17 star systems. The Council Fleet Commander tried to maintain his authority. You cannot threaten the combined military might of the Galactic Council. Surrender now or be destroyed. Admiral Bay's response was to demonstrate human tactical superiority. All ships, execute Maneuver Alpha. The human fleet scattered and vanished, their cloaking systems making them invisible once again. The Council ships found themselves firing at empty space while human vessels attacked from unexpected directions. In less than 10 minutes, 20 Council ships had been disabled by precision strikes that targeted their engines and weapons without causing casualties. "Impossible," transmitted the Vorthon commander. "No species possesses technology advanced enough to cloak entire fleets." "You are correct," Admiral Bay replied. "No Council species possesses such technology. Commander Park Sang-min's intelligence operations were having devastating effects throughout Council space. His agents had infiltrated alien communication networks and were broadcasting human propaganda directly to civilian populations on Council worlds. The messages were simple but effective. While Council leaders talked about human primitiveness, human relief ships were delivering food and medical aid to suffering alien populations. While Council fleets prepared for war, human diplomats were offering peaceful cooperation to any species willing to break free from Council oppression. Captain, Ko's scouts reported success in their deepest penetration missions. Admiral, we have identified the locations of all major Council military installations. Their defensive positions are designed to repel attacks from outside their territory, not from within. We could disable their entire military infrastructure simultaneously if needed. The Council fleet at Earth was learning the hard way that human military technology had advanced far beyond their understanding. Every time they tried to lock weapons on human ships, the targets vanished or moved in ways that defied physics as the aliens understood it. Dr. Ryu's quantum stealth systems allowed human vessels to exist in multiple probable locations simultaneously, making targeting impossible for Council weapons designed to hit objects in normal space. The human ships could attack and disappear before enemy sensors could track their movements. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "the enemy fleet is attempting to retreat." "Let half of them go," Admiral Bay ordered. "But disable the command ships. I want their leaders to see what human technology can accomplish." The retreating Council ships found their escape routes blocked by human vessels that appeared from nowhere. The lucky ones were allowed to flee with tales of impossible human capabilities. The unlucky ones were systematically disabled and boarded by human marines who confiscated intelligence data before releasing the crews unharmed. Commander Park's psychological warfare campaign was spreading panic throughout Council territory. Reports of invincible human ghost fleets were causing alien military forces to see threats everywhere. Council ships began firing at sensor shadows and false readings, sometimes attacking each other in the confusion. Captain Ko brought intelligence from her deep reconnaissance missions. "Admiral, Council military morale is collapsing. 3 alien species have withdrawn their fleets from joint operations, claiming they cannot fight an enemy they cannot see." The failed invasion of Earth had shattered the Council's image of military superiority. For the first time in galactic history, a Council military operation had been completely humiliated by forces they had dismissed as primitive. Dr. Ryu's teams were already developing even more advanced stealth systems. "Admiral, the Mark IV cloaking devices will allow our ships to remain invisible even while firing their weapons. We could attack Council installations without revealing our presence at all." Admiral Bay studied reports from across the galaxy showing the collapse of Council military effectiveness. Their forces were paralyzed by fear of human ghost fleets that could strike anywhere without warning. Supply convoys refused to travel without massive escorts, crippling their logistics networks. "Begin Phase 4, he ordered. "It is time to end this charade of Council military superiority." Commander Park's intelligence networks reported that several Council species were secretly negotiating surrender terms with human representatives. The prospect of fighting an invisible enemy had broken their will to resist. The hunt was over before it had truly begun. The Council had sent their finest fleets to punish humanity, and instead had demonstrated their own helplessness against superior human technology. The galaxy was learning that in warfare, as in everything else, competence mattered more than reputation. President John Yesol stood before the assembled delegates of 63 species in the Grand Hall of New Geneva Station, humanity's newest orbital city. The station itself was a marvel that demonstrated everything the old Galactic Council had failed to understand about cooperative civilization. Built in just 6 months through joint effort between humans and their new allies, it represented a new model of interspecies cooperation based on mutual respect rather than domination. Admiral Kim Tae-ho, who had delivered humanity's withdrawal, notice to the Council 2 years earlier, now served as Supreme Commander of Confederation Defense Forces. He watched with satisfaction as former Council species queued up to request membership in humanity's Free Species Confederation. The same aliens who had once mocked human capabilities now begged for the chance to join the civilization they had tried to suppress. Ambassador Yu Da-yun reviewed the applications for Confederation membership that arrived daily. "Madam President, we have received formal requests from 12 more Council species this week, including the defections from last month, that brings total requests to 137 species seeking to leave Council territory." Dr. Seo Gun-woo's team had finished drafting the new galactic charter that would govern the Free Species Confederation. Unlike the Council's system of elder species dominating younger ones, the Confederation operated on principles of genuine equality, where every member species had an equal voice regardless of their age or technological level. "The charter voting is complete," Dr. Seo reported. "All 63 member species have ratified the new constitution unanimously. The old system of species hierarchy has been officially abolished. The transformation had been remarkable. What started as humanity's angry withdrawal from Council oppression had become a galactic revolution that toppled the oldest political system in known space. The Council's authority had collapsed so completely that most of their former territory now existed in a state of chaos or had already switched allegiance to the human-led Confederation. President John addressed the assembled delegates with words that would be remembered for generations. "Fellow beings of the galaxy, we gather here not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals united in the belief that cooperation serves us better than domination." The contrast with Council governance could not have been more stark. Where the Yai Council had ruled through fear and maintained power by keeping member species dependent and weak, the Confederation thrived by making every member stronger through shared knowledge and mutual support. Admiral Kim received daily reports about the ongoing collapse of Council territory. "Madam President, our intelligence indicates that effective Council control now extends to fewer than 30 star systems. The rest of their former empire has either joined us or declared independence." The economic transformation was equally dramatic. Dr. Seo's new trade protocols had eliminated the tariffs and restrictions that had enriched Council elder species at the expense of everyone else. Freed from artificial barriers, galactic commerce flourished as never before. "Ambassador, you brought news of the latest diplomatic breakthrough." "Madam President, the Altarian crystal technology has been successfully integrated with our quantum communication networks. We can now maintain real-time contact across the entire galaxy. Even the most distant Confederation members are connected instantly." The technological sharing that characterized Confederation policy stood in sharp contrast to the Council's hoarding of advanced knowledge. Where Council species had jealously guarded their discoveries to maintain competitive advantages, Confederation members freely exchanged innovations that benefited everyone. Captain Oh Seung-hwa's humanitarian fleets continued their work across the galaxy, but now they operated as part of a vast relief network that included vessels from dozens of species. The Confederation's response to crises was faster and more effective than anything the Council had ever achieved. Status report on relief operations, President Jian requested. We have eliminated food shortages on 94 worlds, Captain Oh reported. Medical aid has contained 7 plague outbreaks that would have killed millions under the old Council system. Our joint response teams can now reach any point in Confederation space within 6 hours. Dr. Seo's social research teams had documented the dramatic improvements in living standards across Confederation territory. Madam President, average life expectancy has increased by 20%. Literacy rates have improved by 40%. And economic productivity has doubled since Confederation formation. The most remarkable change was in interspecies relations. The Council's system had encouraged competition and mistrust between different species, but Confederation policies promoted cooperation and mutual understanding. Cultural exchange programs allowed beings from different worlds to learn from each other rather than compete against each other. Admiral Kim brought intelligence about the Council's desperate attempts to maintain relevance. Madam President, the remaining Council leadership has offered to negotiate terms for rejoining the Confederation. They claim they have learned from their mistakes and want to participate in the new galactic order. The offer was met with skepticism from Confederation members who remembered decades of Council oppression. Many species that had suffered under Council rule wanted nothing to do with their former oppressors, regardless of their current desperation. Ambassador Yu's diplomatic teams were handling dozens of similar requests from former Council officials, who suddenly discovered the benefits of cooperation over domination. Madam President, we have applications from individual Council species seeking Confederation membership, but their governments want guarantees that they will be treated as equals rather than junior partners. That is exactly what Confederation membership means, President John replied. Every species is equal, regardless of their past affiliations or mistakes. Dr. Seo's constitutional framework had anticipated this situation. The Confederation Charter included provisions for former Council species to join as full members after demonstrating their commitment to cooperative principles rather than dominance hierarchies. Captain O reported on a particularly significant development. Madam President, the Vorthan Republic has formally dissolved their old government and established a democratic system based on Confederation principles. They are requesting membership and offering to share their industrial technology freely. The Vorthons had been among humanity's harshest critics in the old Council, but facing economic collapse and civil unrest, they had embraced the Confederation model of governance. Their transformation from arrogant oppressors to cooperative partners demonstrated the power of the new galactic order. Admiral Kim's strategic analysis showed the complete reversal of galactic power structures. Madam President, the Confederation now controls or influences 85% of known space. The old Council represents less than 10% of galactic population and economic activity. The numbers told the story of the most dramatic political transformation in galactic history. In just 2 years, humanity had gone from being dismissed as primitive to leading a civilization that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ambassador Yu brought the final piece of news that marked the end of the old order. Madam President, the Galactic Council has voted to formally dissolve itself. Their remaining members have submitted individual applications for Confederation membership. President Jian looked out at the diverse gathering of beings who had chosen cooperation over domination, progress over stagnation, and hope over fear. The galaxy was finally free from the system that had held it back for millennia. Fellow beings, she announced, today marks not the end of one system and the beginning of another, but the start of our shared future among the stars. Dr. Seo's historians were already writing the story of what they called the Great Liberation. Future generations would learn how humanity's departure from a corrupt system had sparked the birth of true galactic civilization. The old Galactic Council would be remembered only as a cautionary tale about the dangers of arrogance and the folly of underestimating those who seemed different. The new Free Species Confederation represented everything the Council had failed to become, a true union of equals working together for the benefit of all. As President John closed the historic session that formally welcomed the last former Council species into Confederation membership, she reflected on how far they had all traveled from that day when Admiral Kim Tae-ho had walked out of the Council chamber in disgust. Humanity had sought respect and found only condescension, but in leaving, they had given the galaxy something far more valuable than respect. They had given it hope for a better future.